sounds like the king is in the building.
Come on.
I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
And watching Daily Jazz Advice coming at you.
Now you're watching because we're on the YouTubes today.
Back on the YouTubes. We get excited. We get dressed up. You get your special Waldo hat out. And I get my fancy shirt. Come on, that's how we do it, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Google.
Google.
Keep on Googling.
Keep on taking over the world in a very slightly demonic way, I might add.
So we're doing this episode because if you Google blues scale, you get a variety of quality advice.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, by variety, I mean like a smattering of different kinds of quality about the blues scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any kind of mental health advice? I'm thinking it could be, or is it all strictly musical, the blues, like how to combat the blues or something?
I wouldn't call all of it musical. But it does.
Right.
It does deal with music. But we wanted to kind of give our take on the blues scale. We've been doing like a series of scale discussions.
Right.
I don't know if you remember it.
Well, I remember What the Hell series.
No, I'm talking about like the altered states scale.
Of course, that's one of our award winners.
The Don't Diminish Me Diminish scale.
That's right. And then there was the Don't Sleep on some Ionian thing or something, right?
Yeah. There's the Lydian Dominant, which ended up dominating us in the end.
Yeah, that's right.
So today we thought we'd talk about the blues scale. So there's a lot to talk about with the blues scale.
There is a lot. And the first thing we should probably answer is, what the hell is it?
What the hell is the blues scale? Well,
there's a little dispute on that. This is going to be fun. We're going to have a little controversy. We love bringing the controversy to the YouTubes.
Yeah,
as it were.
There's been some recent blog posts by some very famous musicians about the blues scale, its origins, where it came from, and what exactly it is. Commonly, it's known as this scale. Like that's where we've all kind of landed with it in the late 20th century to now, right? That's what we consider when musicians talk amongst themselves about what is the blues scale. That's the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
Correct? Would you agree?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 note scale.
Yeah. So in the key of C, it's C, E flat, F, F sharp, G flat, G, B flat, and then we're back at C.
That's the way I learned it.
Me too. And it's that sound, right? You get that sound. It's the first way that when you're like a middle school musician, you want to sound hip. But you learn that blues scale, you just lean into it the whole time.
Oh, man.
Not knowing anything about life or phrasing or anything.
Ignorance is bliss, for sure.
You've never had the blues once in your life.
No.
And you're just leaning into that blue note.
I play the suburban blues, baby. I like the suburbs, baby.
It's one step off from like the classical musician body. I'm a jazz person, I'm
gonna love you like nobody loves you. Yeah.
Yeah, but when done right, the blues scale can be such an effective tool.
Of course.
And it doesn't have to be, it's one of those things that like, it's like rhythm or anything else that it doesn't have to, you don't have to complicate the blues scale. The blues scale just, it exists with its own set of functions and sounds, and it just is a beautiful thing when done right.
That's right. You don't have to complicate it, but let's get into the complexities
I'm
of
ready,
it.
I'm ready to try. It's my best.
Yeah. Okay. So, is it too early in the episode for me to bring out the secret blues scale?
No,
I love the secret blues scale.
I think this is the first step. A lot of you probably, if you've been Googling the blues scale, you know that first one we talked about. But there is what we've called the secret blues scale, which is really not a secret.
It's not a secret. We've done videos on it before. But so yeah, it's just adding the major third to the aforementioned blues scale. So we're going 1 minor 3 major 3. Is that even legal? 4th flatted 5th, 5th dominant 7th root.
Okay. Root. So may I add one more secret note to this secret scale? We already
don't
the next note you can add. So you just added that E natural in, which I think is the first note you should add into what everybody considers the blues scale. But I would also argue that between the B flat and the C, you can add that
passing tone. Come on, man. You can't. You know what? Let me add a couple notes.
All right. Wait. So you're saying
that's the chromatic scale?
Okay. All right. So you're saying that B, you wouldn't lean into that like you could lean into the.
I got the blues, baby.
You know what?
Baby. I don't know.
You've changed my mind. That is a fair point. That's a fair point.
No, you could put it in, of course, and we do put it in. But it really, I feel like it doesn't have the quality in terms of leaning in that the major third.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to. You've changed me on this. Oh yeah, I mean if you hop along to anything, of course. Look at the way your hips are moving. Of course, it's going to sound lame.
Yeah.
No, okay, so we won't add that second secret in, but that E natural is a great note to lean on in almost any situation. Maybe not like because you could use the blues scale. We'll get into this. Where can you use it? You could use it over a dominant chord. You could use it over a minor 7 chord. You could use it over a major 7 chord. Yeah. In the right context.
It kind of has that blues connotation to it.
You can use it over just about anything.
Yes.
There's nothing you can't use it over if you are doing it the right way.
Well, let's get into an area you shouldn't. Maybe, you can use it, but let's talk about some areas you shouldn't use it.
Okay, go for it.
Or some scale. So we're doing C blues, and then we go to F7. Should we use an F blues scale?
That's a big hell no.
Hell no. Although, you know what? I've been such a big proponent of not doing this. I actually did this the other day, and quite to my delight, it sounded aight.
Okay, so
but it was an exception to the rule.
We're gonna get into this later because I have a whole system for this. But you go ahead with your
So
your breakdown here.
We go to the 4 chord. Am I getting ahead of myself?
No.
Okay.
So we stay on that C blues scale.
We stay on the C blues scale because it's a sound. It's a vibe that's so closely related to the tonic of the blues, and that's really what the blues is about. Like we kind of get so far away from a musical standpoint, from the blues sound over this dominant, and the brilliance of the blues and what it's done to the world of music is about that. Is about a kind of a tonic sound. I mean, a dominant sound over the tonic, which normally you wouldn't think because it's supposed to lead somewhere, it does lead somewhere.
It does.
But we're still on that blues scale.
It's both major and minor.
Yeah.
It's both the dark and the light. It's an amazing tool.
It's always darkest before dawn, baby.
It's incredible. And that's why actually, with your secret note there, that major third, even if you're playing a minor.
Yeah. It's bluesy. It's bluesy AF.
That's an E natural over a minor chord. Not just as a passing tone either.
No.
And it sounds dope.
Mm-hmm.
So don't sleep on that secret note of the blues scale. Definitely don't do the B natural.
No, the B natural's fine. I just
Can we talk about some fingering issues that maybe pianists? But
No.
I don't even think this is a piano issue. We get asked a lot about piano fingerings for scales and things.
Yeah.
And people are dying for the fingerings for the blues scale and all 12 keys.
Yeah.
But I always come back to I haven't really sussed this completely out because I'm still evolving on this, but the blues scale is not a scale to be played in a linear fashion.
No, and I think because you've got, even with putting in some of this, the E or even the B, you've got these big breaks where like thirds are already built into it. Yeah. So like normally when we're talking about fingering, even of like, like a diminished scale, it's a linear scale. It's all whole steps or half steps.
Yeah.
If you play thirds, you break it up, you'd have a different kind of fingering pattern going. But with the blues scale, it starts out there.
Yeah, you wouldn't like skip.
It's already got a shape in it.
Blues scale, you wouldn't build chords necessarily off the blues scale.
It's my blues chord, baby.
I mean, the closest you get is bluesy double stops.
Yeah.
Hashtag bluesy double stops. Check out our episode on that. But it's not treated like you said, the diminished scale where you can like practice in thirds or broken fifths. This is not like that. This is more. I think of this, and I've been teaching this now with our students to think about this not in a linear fashion of like what's the right fingering to do this in every key. Because how often do you do that?
I know.
Really what you're talking about is little zones, right?
Yeah.
So think about it with your thumb rooted to the C, with your thumb on the F, with your thumb on the G. Then go through the keys like that. So how does that work in E flat? Like, for the piano, E flat is tricky. You got to kind of anchor your thumb on the E flat.
Yep.
And there's zones, again, you can anchor your thumb on the G flat, on the D flat.
Yep.
Like, you need to get comfortable with where your hand fits on this scale. It's probably more crucial with the blues scale than any other scale. How does the shape of your hand and your physiology line up with how this sounds? And what are the sounds that when you transcribe people playing the blues scale, can you get thinking about how your thumb is anchored to, if you're on piano, how your thumb is anchored to one of those notes?
Yep. And then I would say when you're doing, when you're using the major third with the secret blues scale, you can think about from a fingering standpoint, it's a chromatic scale is what happens because you got the minor third, major third, fourth. And that's why, having good fingering on your instrument over the chromatic scale becomes one of the most important assets technically that you can apply to these sounds.
All right, so we know that we can use the blues scale, just the one C blues scale, over a C blues, right?
Yeah. Stay there, baby.
Even on the 5 chord. But what are our other options? Now, we're going to go into some territory, which I like to call things that Peter plays that he doesn't even know he's playing. But this is also something that I kind of picked up from our buddy Warren Wolf, who did a course for us and talked about what he called the major blues scale, which I'd never heard of before.
No, and he was acting like it was like scientific fact.
Yeah, like this is what they teach at Berkeley or something, This
was a signed treaty in Boston.
But this is something that I recognize you're playing. This is definitely something that I use all the time. And it's using notes from the blues scale that's in the relative minor. So if we're in a C, that has that E flat in it and, of course, has more of a minor sound. Warren was talking about using the A blues scale. And it gets you that sound.
Yeah.
That's what he meant by the major blues scale.
Yeah. So the foundation of the scale is A. It's an A blues scale without the secret.
Without that secret, yeah. And you can use that again on that F. Now, something I've heard some St. Louis blues guitarists do is when they get to that 5 chord, they use the G major blues scale.
Yeah.
And then back to what they really do is, and then
back to
back to that C regular blues scale.
Yeah.
So that major blues scale, which is the blues scale based off of the relative minor. In C, it's A. Warren was talking about how he, and you could hear this in a lot of players, interchanges these together. Mm-hmm. Right, those are using those two in the same way. Now, I think you probably think of the major blues scale more in a pentatonic way. That's how I hear you using it.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to have those two different thoughts of like, oh, these are relative blues scales, the C and the A. Because you get some of those same shapes, like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think my thing with the pentatonic, it almost becomes like the blues scale, or you're taking parts of it to apply the blues sound, say, to the end of a phrase that's coming out of a pentatonic situation.
Absolutely.
So it's like, so So there's just like a little hint at it at the end to keep it from being I am all angular and pentatonic.
Well, and you can also use
because so many of the notes are the same.
And this is kind of like we've heard that we overuse this when we play on these podcasts. But I have no apologies for overusing the blues scale at all because I think it's great. But even if you're playing like a Great American Songbook Standard.
Oh, come on.
Throwing that blues scale
the BBs.
throwing that blues scale in as your final phrase of a chorus or a solo, that brings that audience in a way that is impossible to do in any other way. You know what I mean? Like that's so solid and is like, my people, come with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a real it's like a welcome mat.
Love it,
come on into the blues.
It's warm and fuzzy.
And it can be there's so many different levels that you can do it. Like that was pretty overt, but it could also just be just the minor third to major third gives.
Yeah. But then imagine like.
But then it's like.
Well, all I can hear is like Sean Jones then being like. Something like that. I think it could be a really effective tool. You don't like anything. You can overuse it for sure.
Oh yeah, we've been told that.
I mean,
if we have one fault, it's that we overuse the blues scale.
No,
we're too funny. We love our audience too much. So, okay, I got another one for you. What do you know about blues scale layered into the tapestry we call bebop?
Well, I know it's an important part of bebop.
Exactly, because think about your innovators in bebop and really the originators, the developers of the vernacular of bebop. A gentleman out of Kansas City. Is Kansas City a blues town? What?
It might be.
They know a little something about blues. Charles Parker. So, the idea is like. you can sneak it in ways. So this is like over A flat, even though I'm going to the D flat. Same thing, like you're thinking kind of tonic because the tune, is A flat.
It's hard to find a bebop solo from Charlie Parker that doesn't have the blues scale.
Oh yeah, very very bluesy. Bird with Strings, all those beautiful ballads.
Yeah,
a lot of blues vernacular. It just fits well. And then you think about like Ornette Coleman, a lot of like very interesting applications within kind of less tonal center stuff, but very blues based.
He's a blues musician. Ornette Coleman.
He knows the blues scale, and I'm starting to think he might have known the secret blues scale.
Coltrane too.
He didn't think about it as corny as I do, but
So that's that. So the blues scale.
That's that blues scale.
That's that.
We got
told
it.
You, and that's it. All right, Google. Do your magic, Google.
Don't do any more. Don't do any less.
No. Remember the secret note using that major third. Remember the relative minor blues scale and how you can use both of those interchanged. Remember how it's used in bebop, and those are kind of the key points to it. I think we've covered some good ground here. I think we've fought the good fight for this blues scale.
We have. We'll see if Google picks up on it, but maybe in a week we'll come back and search. What did you search? The blues scale or the blues scale?
Yeah, the blues scale. Oh, also remember, it's not a linear scale. Don't treat it like a major scale or a diminished scale. It is. Let's
talk about a few ways. Yeah, let's look into some what not to do's.
What not to do.
Because we want to go out on a negative note.
So I have heard this done once in a great way. And it was Benny Green, and he just he basically stared down the audience and was like, I'm Benny Green, and I can play this, and you're going to love it, and all did.
That's right.
And just played the blues scale straight down. But that's not going to be the way that is most effective.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, too, I've definitely heard some Oscar Peterson, he might have got that from where he just flies through it so fast.
For sure.
But it's like there's so much happening there, you don't even quite notice it.
For sure.
So those are ways you can get away with doing it, but let's talk about another way that you should not do it. Like with the skippy scappy sing-songy.
Again,
you shouldn't do anything
scappy, linear playing with it. Yeah. Treat it as little zones that you can create melodies out of, and it's going to be way more handy.
But even if you were to mix it up in a zone.
But that still sounds... Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Oh, you like that? You like that, big guy?
I don't. Again, if I watch your hips, it doesn't help.
So if I just do...
It's a little better. I'll be honest.
You like it?
A little bit better.
Come play at my blues house,
God.
baby.
No, okay, but yeah, if you take that little skippity scop, I can stay in one zone and just be fine.
Yeah, because you're not doing what I did. I'm talking about things not to do.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
hip stuff.
Yeah, okay, so play hip rhythms, obviously.
Drop down and give me 10 ways not to play the blues scale, son.
That's right. Okay, something maybe not to do is to change the blues scale depending on the chord. Whatever key you're in. I mean, we talked about some options about the major blues scale.
Yeah.
And then on the blues itself, that 5, you can use that major blues scale, like a G major blues scale. On the 5 chord, sounds good.
But it's hard if you go to the 4 and use the 4.
That doesn't work very well. And
it's almost a no bueno situation.
Yeah, you kind of have to have an advanced level of dealing with this for a while to get to that point.
Degree of difficulty 11.
If you're just starting out with the blues scale, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You talking to me?
You know what I'm talking about?
Talking to me?
Always. Okay. But just keep it on that one blues scale. Maybe throw in that major blues scale experiment. But don't try to, as you said, when the blues goes from C7 to the next chord, the 4 chord, don't go to the F7 blues scale. It doesn't really work.
One last negative thing I want to, not negative, but just think not to do.
No, let's go negative.
And look, and these are things that when you're learning, you kind of do them, and then you're like, well, I don't sound good. That's fine. We're always trying to develop, but this. And definitely not this.
Can you stop, please?
Am I driving you crazy?
Stop.
I don't know, something about that. I mean, can you do like, and then jump on, yeah, maybe, but I don't know, something. No bueno.
No bueno.
Well, till tomorrow.
You'll hear it.